XRP's volatility has dropped to rock bottom, and historically, this has never happened as XRP has always broke down in a matter of a few weeks every time it has pumped. XRP is not only trading near all-time highs as we currently speak, but we have been ranging here for 6 months at the all-time highs. This is unprecedented price action that we have never seen on the macro, and it only means one thing. XRP investors are not selling. It's that simple. Nearly every momentum metric is aligning towards new all-time highs, and most importantly, the Elliott Wave Theory is providing us the biggest clues that it may be ready for an insane breakout to new all-time highs very, very soon. Most people are scared of it, and understandably so, but the reality is the fact that we are still ranging here may be a distribution for higher levels and not lower levels that we traditionally have seen in the past. And as low volatility is seen as a risk for many new XRP investors in XRP, it is a feature, not a bug. So let's walk through the Elliott Wave Theory and see what it is telling us from a price action perspective. Once again, we do have all the necessary components for what could be a $20 to $30 target range, conservative, if we are still able to get supported above the $1.60 levels. Now, what's fascinating about the Elliott Wave Theory is that it provides us invalidation levels, and if we're able to identify the simple 5s and 3s, which the Elliott Wave Theory is based upon, we are able to find the context of what could be the next predictable move. And in this case, since we had a 5-wave move up here and you had a 3-wave correction here, what's next? We have a wave 3 in the making, which is now going to be followed by an extension or assumed extension that's going to be followed by another 5-wave move. And within the Elliott Wave Theory, if you're not versed in it, the wave 3 is typically not only the longest, but it's going to be the strongest wave parabolically. So if you think about this move here should be far more profitable than what we saw from that December breakout. Now, in terms of the actual timing, I think we're getting very close to what could be the breakout as we are now creating all the necessary components on the shorter time frames, which I'll be going over. But once again, the most important thing of the macro is that we are still trading near all-time highs, which is absolutely unprecedented. This is price action we have never seen. Like I've said, we usually just break down instantly. Even for these larger wave 4s that we've seen in the past, it is still ranging here like crazy, and it looks like it's doing a repeat of what we saw over here. Now, will we see a similar type of breakout that's going to be like this in a one go? Most likely not, as we just simply do not know, but we know what the capability is for XRP, and we have to be prepared for that. Most people, they completely miss out on XRP because it happens in one go and you don't know when it's going to happen. But with the Elliott Wave Theory, it's providing us clues that we may be ready for a breakout very, very soon, possibly going even into the end of summer. So with that being said, we want to talk about how this is going to be following up and what we can see for this possible wave 3. So if we go into the shorter time frames, there are 2 ways that we can currently see it, which is a flat idea, which is more of an equilibrium range where we might range here for the rest of the summer, or we may be very soon ready for another breakout to the upside, as we're going to be looking for the smaller degree 5-wave moves to the upside to create these higher degree wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that should be creating that extension that we're looking for. So that being said, as you can see here, we have all the necessary components even on the shorter time frames, and from a top-down analysis and a bottom-up analysis, the shorter time frames here provide us the proper context that can be fitted into the larger time frames, and the larger time frames vice versa could fit into the shorter time frames. What we have here is not a series of 5s being created, but rather we have a series of 3s being created here, and this one variation is a double zigzag pattern, a WXY pattern. This is an ABC going into wave W. We have another WXY going into wave X, another ABC going into a wave Y, and that is most likely the wave 2 bottom, which is going to be a protected low, which is why I said at the beginning of the video, the $1.60 level is a very, very important level to be supported when it comes to the Elliott Wave Theory perspective. So that being said, once again, I think what we can say here is that this is a 1-2 because the context of this was a very not shallow, but a very resemblance of a three-wave correction variation. We had an ABC going into wave W, similar combination pattern for this wave X, and then we had another ABC going into a wave Y, which also kind of resembles what the larger degree did, a WXY to the bottom. We have a similar WXY to the bottom. But most importantly, we also met that Fibonacci support level right on target, this yellow box that we were expecting. That 61.8% is a golden Fibonacci level, and that is arguably the most important level, not from an Elliott Wave perspective, but from a trader's perspective, from an investor perspective. Basically, in all of life, we know that the golden Fibonacci level at the 61.8% is applicable here as well on the price action. So with that being said, I do think that we are going to be working for a wave 3 to the upside, but in the fact that we don't, there is a very strong possibility that we can also be working in a flat structure where we can be extending this correction even longer. This idea here, in my opinion, from a timing perspective of how this could be playing out, just doesn't fit right to me, but it is the secondary option where we can still reach that all-time high, but still give us that potential to come back and retest this level before the actual breakout happens. Now, between the two, I would say that it's kind of difficult at this point. It doesn't really matter because both scenarios are still looking for the upside, and we're still going to be retesting that $4 level region before we actually kind of reassess which scenario might play out. As you can see, both of them are a hybrid scenario of going to the upside. What the difference is that are we going to work correctively to the upside, or as an impulse to the upside where we need another 5-wave to the upside for this wave 3? We definitely want to be breaking that $3.50 to the $4 regions before reassessing anything else. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is the real concrete way of us getting out of not only to the new all-time highs, but to those targets that I have mentioned, because the macro is still suggesting that we're still in that post triangle breakout, and we're still working towards to the upside as a continuation of this breakout pattern that we identified before this actually ever happened. We've been talking about this for months on end. If you go back to my old videos, we talk about how this triangle was forming, and lo and behold, we got a massive 5-wave move to the upside. This was the dead giveaway on why we can still assume that we're still in a 1-2 correction before we can work for the upside instead of some kind of larger bearish correction, because right now there's no real possible bearish scenario with high probability unless you're seeing this as a possible flat idea. The fact that it broke all-time highs and the fact that we're all still trading near all-time highs gives us all the reason, and within the reason, to assume that we're still in a strong trend to the upside. So hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. This is why you can't escape the bull run for XRP, in my opinion. This may be the final once-in-a-lifetime experience for you to see how this bull run might conclude for XRP, and we'll see how this is going to be concluding in the coming months, possibly. But I'm happy to be wrong, because we've been calling out for this breakout, this 500% breakout. But again, we'll have to see how this plays out, and time is the only friend that we have, but it's also our worst enemy. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye-bye.